Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Ken Claiborne, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees of this congregation. Welcome to all of you. The Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Elkhart is a welcoming community encouraging religious freedom, nurturing individual, spiritual, and ethical growth, celebrating diversity, for now, and promoting a just and sustainable world. If you would like to learn more about this fellowship, please look at our website at uufe.org and join us after the service for coffee hour in the gathering place through the gallery hallway. For the listening enjoyment of all, we ask that you please turn off your cell phone or turn it to vibrate. Also, if you need hearing support, please ask for help at the desk in back at the sound desk, and you'll be provided with an assistant. Thank you.
I have a few announcements for Fellowship Life. This is the first Sunday of the month, so help at the end of the service, if you would, to move the chairs off to the side so the cleaning people can do the floors this week. Ken Claiborne still has two $50 gift certificates left to contribute food to the food pantry, so see him if you want to take advantage of those. Also, committee chairs, remember to submit your budget request for the next fiscal year starting in July by March 15th, which is a couple weeks, to Ken. And annual reports for committee chairs is due April 15th to Laura Snow. Be watching next week for details on the rollout of our stewardship campaign, which will kick off next Sunday. Mark Saturday the 15th, which is 2 weeks from yesterday. Buy your postcards at the post office and make as many as you want and mail them on Saturday. That's key. They want to receive, the goal I think is 1 million postcards to the White House sometime the week of the 15th. Just I'd put one word on it, unqualified. Who knows who's going to read these, if anybody. But the point is, let's just inundate the postcards on the 15th, okay? That's pretty simple. To the White House. The address is posted on the bulletin board, and I've got an issued president, because we don't know who the president is, if it's Elon or if it's Mr. Trump. Okay. That's my personal thing. Okay, ooey gooey. We got to get going on that. Chuck's out of town for another couple weeks, but next Saturday, the guys will be getting the calls if you're available. Next Saturday at 11 o'clock, we'll just meet in the gathering place. We're going to have pizza, and we'll have pretty much our first real planning session for that event, which we haven't had yet, a planning session, okay? So if you're available, come, and if not, we'll be calling you and see if you can come. Thanks. Yeah, Dwight.
You should dovetail on that about donations. You know, if you've got something.
Okay, that's been it's in the focus. It's how to do that. Okay, yeah, we need donations also. Okay. Hear these words. Oh, excuse me. We ring the gong 3 times. Once for those who came before us and made a place for us. Once for those who are here now. And once for those who will come after and build on the dream. Hear these words from Albert Schweitzer. At times our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. Would you join with me now reading the Unison Covenant as printed in your order of service? Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our covenant. And I don't think there are any children here this morning, but yes, there are. Yes, there are. So you can be excused now to R.E. And if you would, please turn to hymn number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth. And if you're willing and able, please stand and sing. Number 21.
Good morning. Good morning. Today I want to share a reflection on two moments that remind us of the power of words and the magic of connection. America Reads and Dr. Seuss's birthday, which is today, 121 years ago. Together, they invite us to celebrate literacy, not just as a skill, but a bridge to empathy, imagination, and a brighter future. Each March, classrooms, libraries, community centers across the nation mark Dr. Seuss's birthday with Read Across America, a joyful celebration of books and the boundless worlds they open to us. Children don whimsical cat-in-the-hat stripes, and adults rediscover the quirky rhymes and rhythms that first sparked their love of reading. At its heart, this celebration is about more than the whimsical worlds of green eggs and Sneetches. It's a reminder how stories can shape who we are. Dr. Seuss wrote with a playfulness that invites us in and the wisdom that encourages us to think deeply. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, he wrote in the Lorax, nothing is going to get better. It's not. These words echo the mission of America Reads, a program that pairs mentors with young readers to help bridge the literacy gap. Many of these children come from families where access to books or consistent reading support isn't guaranteed. For them, a mentor's encouragement can be transformative. Through something as simple as sharing a story, mentors show children that their voices matter. They unlock the confidence to say, I can, and the courage to dream beyond what seems possible. That's not just teaching literacy, it's planting seeds of hope. Dr. Seuss himself understood the value of nurturing young minds. His books remind us that learning is not a destination, but a lifelong journey. As he famously wrote, the more you read, the more things you will know. The more you learn, the more places you'll go. This message resonates with us as Unitarian Universalists. Grounded we are in the principles of inherent worth and the interconnected web of existence. When we lift up literacy, we affirm every child's potential and honor our collective responsibility to ensure that every mind is fed, every voice is heard, every story has a chance to be told. So what does this mean for us here in this space? Perhaps it's a call to action. Could we be mentors who ignite the love of reading in the next generation? Or maybe it's a gentle nudge for opportunities to share our own stories, listen deeply to the stories of others. On today, Dr. Seuss's birthday, we might pick up a favorite childhood book and revisit its wonders. But let us remember that children's shelves who may be bare, whose imaginations ache for nourishment. Let's consider how we can work together to ensure no child feels left behind in the magical world of words. Because when we invest in literacy, we invest in humanity's collective story, a story that can be kinder, can be wiser, and more just if we write it together. As I close, I'll leave you with the words of Dr. Seuss. Today you are you. That is truer than true. There is no one alive who is youer than you. May we honor our unique selves and extend that honor to every child, every reader, every voice yearning to be heard. Thank you.
Social media has left reading and lost art almost anymore. It's a shame, but thank you, Chad. Each week we share our offering with a nonprofit with like values and of our own. This week's offering will be shared with the Center for Healing and Hope. As we prepare to receive the offering, let us reflect on the words of Unitarian Universalist minister Reverend Rebecca Parker. Our vocation is to love the world. Through our own giving, we love, we heal, we transform, and we bless the world with our gifts. May you give generously. Darrin, it's so nice to have you this morning. I guess there might be maybe 50 or 60 emails we went back and forth the last couple of weeks preparing for this morning. But I think he's a little modest about his introduction that he sent me, but he wrote in third person, so apparently he's a pretty good writer. Here's what he said. Darrin Palmer is a healthcare worker and upcoming ministerial student from Cement City, Michigan. If he's not at work, he's at church. And if he's at church, either he's at home preparing for one of those things, he's at home preparing for one of those things. When in the pulpit, he says things like, people are soup. We all need a baby doll, and we're all deaf today. Truly never a dull moment. And Darrin actually is a deaf person. He's amazing. Darrin, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here with you guys. Thank you for the hospitality. For those of you who don't know, I am the chair of the worship committee at UUCEL. So I'm your diplomat for today. I wanted to start off with a story called The Gift of a Raspberry by Martha Dallas. Once there was a place that was very bleak and dreary. All the colors there were only shades of gray and brown. Nothing grew there, no grass, no flowers, and no trees. And this place was surrounded by walls and fences. People lived in this place. Every day they were forced to work digging holes and then shoveling the dirt they dug out back into those same holes. This work made them feel tired and their bodies ached, and they felt hopeless, for their work never amounted to anything. It gets better, I promise. The food they ate was just a little bread and some broth. I didn't say get better, it gets better right now. Their bellies were never full, and they were always hungry. Plus, they got sick a lot, for this food wasn't nutritious enough to keep them healthy. One morning in this place, a girl went out, and suddenly she saw something on the ground, something special and precious. It was a red raspberry. Quickly, she picked it up and slipped it into her pocket. She kept it safe there all day, and that night she found a leaf that had blown in from the outside. She put the leaf in her hand and placed the red raspberry on the leaf and went to her friend and presented it to her friend as a gift, and her friend received it. I tell you this story not only because it reminds us that in the most sad, hopeless, bleak, and dreary places, we can, if we keep our eyes open, find miraculous surprises, treasures that are bright and sweet and delicious, like that raspberry. But more importantly, when we find these treasures, we can give them up, give them away, and give them to a friend. This story is true, and it actually happened. And I want you to remember this story. So today, or any other day, when you are feeling bleak or dreary or hopeless, find your raspberry and hold on to it. Savor it, and remember that not all is not lost. The rest is a lot happier than that, I promise. So I'm going to age myself as a baby real quick with the next thing I'm about to say. So if for the rest of the sermon you imagine me up here with a diaper and a pacifier and everything, that's okay. It's all right. Everyone calls me a baby at Clark Lake anyway. When I was freshly 18, 3 months away from finishing my senior year of high school and preparing to start my music ed degree at Oakland University, the world was struck with the COVID-19 pandemic. I was an honors kid that worked a full-time job. Have you ever heard the fun fact that sharks have to keep swimming or else they'll die? That's kind of how I was. When I was 18, I had to keep going or else I was going to freak out. And that's kind of how I felt in March of 2020. I felt like someone had tied my fins to me. I was like, I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. I was struggling to stay afloat in more ways than one. My daily routines were completely upended. New technology was introduced to me incredibly quickly and not very well. A lot of my teachers were trying to figure out how to do Zoom classes at the same time that we were trying to figure it out. And my senior year actually ended up being cut short. I was an IB diploma candidate, and we had already done all of our tests, so they said, if you're an IB student, you don't have to do Zoom school for the rest of the year, you're good, you're fine. So I had been planning on 4 more months of school that just didn't happen. My job was rendered moot. They fired me. They said they didn't need anyone doing that job during the pandemic. I said, okay, cool. My school year was cut short, and my prospective degree was claimed to be useless because people couldn't sing together in large space in confined spaces anymore. So they said, don't become a choir director. And I said, but I want to. And they said, too bad. So I did not go to college that year. I was spiraling hardcore. Any grasp I had on faith and spirituality was holding on by the skin of its teeth, and I had no idea what the heck I was doing. So what did I do? I started a sourdough starter. His name was Bernard. I took notes on Bernard's growth, smell, and texture. I kept him in a glass jar in a windowsill. Every day I woke up at 9 a.m. to feed him and to start the day's project. Or finish the previous days. I baked bagels, breads, cakes, crackers, you name it. I probably made it out of sourdough. And I got better at baking throughout all of that too. You didn't want to try the first day of sourdough. I easily went through a 20-pound bag of flour without even realizing. And I was like, what? There's no more flour in the pantry. I went through it all. And all my neighbors better had count their lucky stars they weren't gluten-free. And if they were, oops, sorry guys, my bad. I had a routine for Bernard, and in the spaces between his itinerary, I slowly developed my own. I didn't take really good care of myself when I was a teenager, as most people are wont to do. And I started brushing my teeth, I started showering, all of the things that a normal person does that a teenager does not do. In between the spaces of taking care of Bernard. In between the stretches and folds, I would read, I would meditate, and I would pray sometimes if I felt like it, if I felt like I could. In taking care of Bernard, I slowly learned how to take care of myself again. I got dressed in new clothes, if only because I was bored and waiting for the next step, and it was the thing to do, I suppose. After I started going to bed and waking up at normal times, and let's be honest, stopped smelling like I was locked in a house for weeks, I started looking for a job. I found one and I dove into it. I worked at the Home Depot as a cashier. And during the pandemic, they did not care about overtime. They were like, you want to stay over? Sure, let's go for it. So I was married to that job. I saved every paycheck for an apartment. I moved out. I met the woman who would become my wife. Eventually moved back home into Jackson, Cement City area, and developed a new, entirely different career. As Steve said, I'm a healthcare worker. I'm a CNA. Far cry from Home Depot. I joined a beautiful church at Clark Lake, discovered I wanted to go to school to become a minister, and here we are. If you got whiplash from all that, don't worry, I did too. The thing is, my whole life changed because of Bernard. The reality of being stuck in a house for so long and relying on a sourdough starter to set my own schedule to completely redirected me and reconnected me to my version of spirituality. Bread reconnected me to spirituality. And my story isn't unique, believe it or not. I'm sure as I was speaking, a lot of you giggled at yourselves for relating to the sourdough starter. Maybe a little too much. But you get me, right? We all have the ability to find the divine within the mundanity of our lives. Sometimes it takes something as little as waking up on a different side of the bed, and sometimes it takes a global pandemic. Different strokes for different folks. A man named Matuso Basho also relied on routines during his quest to find the divinity within the mundane. He meditated and sought various forms of poetry, creating the haiku in the process. Does everyone know what a haiku is? First line is 5 syllables, second is 7, third is 5. And within that, you can have unlimited possibilities. The syllabic structure mimicked the chaos within the organic matter of nature. The first line, I already said that, my bad. No rhymes are necessary, and there's no rhythm scheme except for the syllables. There are set rules within which there can be endless possibilities. I can't think of a more literal comparison to the Divine Within the Mundane. Can you? The reading for today is up higher on my phone, so we're stalling. The haiku reminded me of the reading called Beauty is Our Birthright by Rebecca Savage. Sometimes we awake in the morning with a heaviness in our chest. Sometimes we awake in the morning with the endless to-do list rattling through our thoughts, the nagging reminders of what was left undone yesterday, and the pangs of, I have to do it all again today, pinching at our insides. Sometimes we awake in the morning and we'd rather go back to sleep. We would rather escape under the covers, a rock, the bottom of the closet. And then the first sliver of sunshine may dance across our face, beautiful. And then the wafting scent of a new day may glide over us, beautiful. And then signs of life blossom around us to include inside of us, beautiful. Beauty is our birthright, just as we are born in love, through love, and to love. To nurture beauty is to return to our essence, to touch, taste, and experience creation as beautiful as the fragile, wonderful, and wild interdependence within the spirit of life, that which is so much greater than ourselves. May beauty wrap and delight us and guide our way, and may beauty be yours, now and forever. The beauty of nature is often talked about within haiku. The main subject of haiku, even from when it was first created, has almost always been nature. It can be about anything you want, but it's almost always about nature. And many religions, Christianity, Buddhism, Judaism, almost anything you can think of focuses on nature a lot in their spirituals of meditation, prayer. In the Bible, Jesus went off in the woods alone to pray and meditate on my apologies and meditate on the beauty of God's works and of nature. A Buddhist philosopher, Dogen Zenji, sums it up very well. In the mundane, nothing is sacred. In sacredness, nothing is mundane. Alan Watts, a pop philosopher in the 60s, actually, also said the same thing. He said the mundane and the sacred are one and the same. So how do we pull this into our lives? Well, I did it with Bernard. You find something routine and boring as heck, and that's your mundane. And then you get bored enough that you start talking to people in your head, and that's the divine. You start to realize the small things that you never picked up on before when you're forced to be locked in your house for several weeks, or when you're forced to go back to the basics. I'm going to be real with you guys. My sermons at Clark Lake are a lot shorter than you guys might be used to, so I'm kind of running out of material. But I also realized we didn't do Joys and Sorrows. Oh, you only do it once. Okay, my bad. I'm a stand-up comedian now. Well, I don't have a lot more for you.
We can do a talk back.
All right. Here, let's do that.
Let's do that. Just when you talk into the mic, if you can see them when they talk.
Yes.
So he can see what you're saying. Any questions? Okay.
No.
Any questions for Darrin?
Please, I'm so sorry.
I don't have a question, but I would like to say I love your personality. The vibe you give off is just awesome, and I loved what you had to say. It actually helped me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. As an artist, when I think of mundane, it is more or less the responsibility of the artist to find out that mundane is a state of mind and to find the beauty in the mundane.
That we talk about that a lot in songwriting, in composing. I chose the music today, so if you thought it was long or boring, please don't tell me. But we talk about that a lot in composing, especially choral pieces and orchestral pieces, where a lot of the stuff starts to sound boring and all the same, and you put in variations to make the color pop and make really speak to somebody. Because with orchestral music especially, there's no words. What are the people going to think of? So yes, it is the responsibility of the artist. I agree with that.
So I'm curious if you still make sourdough starters.
I do. I have a footed jar. His name is Billy. And I went to Chelsea, which is about half an hour away from where we live, and they have a paint your own pottery place. And you glaze, you paint whatever you want, and it's a footed jar, but it actually has feet, like human feet on the bottom. It's very unnerving when you look at it. But he has a little bit of a belly showing under his shirt, and he's got suspenders. He's a farmer. And I do have a sourdough starter going in him.
Awesome. And I just wanted to say, it reminds me of, there was a time when I felt really depressed. It was after a divorce. And so I had to find the beauty in washing dishes. Mm-hmm. And so I think your concept is just beautiful about, taking it back to our senses. Mm-hmm. And when especially we're feeling overwhelmed or extremely in any type of emotion. So I thought it was just beautiful. And I was also a little curious, do you naturally have always like found the mundane, like the beauty in the mundane, or?
It was really hard for me at first. I lived with my parents. I lived with my father and his wife during the pandemic, and it was that was not a good environment for me to be in. So I was also in a state of depression. That was when my depression was very bad. So the sourdough starter was kind of my last ditch effort to be like, I need to do something, you know. And I understand, in the beauty in washing dishes, I actually found the beauty in doing laundry when I moved out to my apartment, because I had been not allowed to do my own laundry, like take it straight out of the dryer. So I had never felt a warm load of laundry fresh out of the dryer, which sounds a little bit like a bummer, I'm sorry. But I did my own laundry at my first apartment, and I felt it straight out of the dryer. I was like, this is amazing. And I took it to my apartment, and I put it on my bed, and I just laid on it. I was like, this is wonderful. So once you start doing it, you don't stop doing it, but it's hard to start.
I'm amazed that you said we wouldn't want to taste your first sourdough efforts. I'm amazed that you would soldier through that and not give up, because I could see me wanting to have a sourdough starter and I'm going to make bread, and if it didn't turn out, that would be another source of depression for me.
That would have been enough for me. Like as I said earlier, I was an honors kid, so I had kind of that instinct to, if I don't do something perfectly right away, I'm never doing it again. You know, I tried to learn the violin when I was in high school, and I popped a string when I was tuning it. Nope, I'm done. I didn't even pick up the bow. So I was honestly amazed with myself when I did that first batch. I was like, this doesn't taste right. Oh, I'll just keep doing it. It's fine. But I think it was because I had I joined some sourdough forums. That was the lengths I stooped to. And I had people, you know, I had like grandmas in their 60s and 70s being like, okay, it's all right, honey. Like, sometimes that happens. Did you try to test the sourdough starter? Did you float it? I was like, what do you mean, did I float test it? What are you talking about? So in my confusion, I think I forgot to be upset with myself.
It's interesting that a couple of folks have mentioned washing dishes as being a source of mindfulness, and I remember two Buddhist philosophers. One of them has passed on. His name's Thich Nhat Hanh, and he talked about using mindfulness to get him through cleaning dishes. He was helping clean dishes from a meeting that was held. Cold water, ashes for soap. I mean, this was basic stuff. And a newer author, John Kabat-Zinn, talking about how much he hates having to clean the cat dishes that his wife leaves in the sink. But he does it because he's able to focus on it and be mindful of it.
I practice mindfulness in cleaning now. I actually I revamped my morning routine. There's an app called Routinery. They have an app for everything. It's wonderful. But you set timers for yourself. It's like, well, 2 minutes of brushing my teeth. It takes me about a minute to get my meds ready. It takes blah, blah, blah. And I just go through, and you kind of go on autopilot when your phone's doing everything for you. So I have a 4-minute laundry roundup, and 4-minute dish roundup, and 4-minute trash roundup. And it's basically like when you get to the restaurant in the morning and you open the restaurant and make sure it's clean for all of the patrons. That's kind of how it feels opening my house in the morning. And I use that as kind of my time for meditation and just kind of getting ready for the day. So it's very easy to take mundane tasks like that and just, well, that's my time I have to think for myself.
Okay. We'll let Jim have the last word, and then I'll make a comment. Okay.
Thank you guys for going along with me. I apologize.
I just wanted to comment on the sourdough starter too, because I also have a sourdough starter. And to me, the sourdough starter, it's interesting you gave yours the name, because it is a living thing, clearly. And it's a continuous living thing, and mine sort of has a history of someplace in San Francisco, and then in Iowa, and then, in my refrigerator, and part of my sourdough also, it's basically the starter is only water and flour. Now the flour I use comes from Bonneville Mill, and I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that is a park that's here, and they stone ground flour, and so I have, instead of just white flour, I add rye and whole wheat, and so it is a living thing. Now the hard part is making bread out of it.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you for bringing our attention to the mundane, Darrin. I can identify with your load of laundry. That's one of my favorite times of the week with my little dog. He knows when the dryer is open, and I get him up in the bed and he just lays in the warm laundry. So that's really
our
that's
cat
really
wash
cool.
is the same thing.
That's really cool. Don't apologize. We're okay to be early sometimes and late sometimes. Thank you.
Thank you all.
If I'm correct, we do 4 verses of this next hymn, 298, 1, 2, 3, and 5. I think that's how she's recorded this. So if you would be willing and able, let's stand and sing Wake Now My Senses, verses 1, 2, 3, and 5. Remain standing then for the extinguishing of the candle and the benediction, and then we'll sit for the postlude. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of the truth. Join me. The warmth of the community or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again.
I swear I do everything on my phone. I'm so sorry, everybody. Okay. The benediction is Shine by Mary Eads. Like the cosmic dust following after a great Perseid meteor, we are the living remnants of time and all that has come to pass in its wake, briefly shining lights on the way to eternity. We are only visible to the naked eye for an instant. Take this moment to shine like the stardust you are. May the light of our time on earth shine to bless the world and each other. Shine, shine, shine.